Former F1 steward Tim Mayer has decided to run for president of the FIA and challenge incumbent Mohammed Ben Sulayem after Carlos Sainz Sr. decided not to enter the race. Last November, Mayer, the son of McLaren founder Teddy Mayer, was let go from his position and was allegedly fired by Sulayem over text message. Before last weekend's British Grand Prix at Silverstone, Mayer officially launched his presidential campaign in front of a banner that said FIA Forward. Now, when asked about his decision to run, Mayer insisted that it wasn't personal or out of revenge against Sulayem.
I was going to think revenge.
But more so his concern about his current leadership and the state of the FIA. Mayer spent 15 years as an F1 steward before he got sacked and has past experience working in IndyCar and IMSA. He accused his opponent, Sulayem, of not fulfilling his campaign promises he made to get elected president of the FIA in December 2021. Whilst admitting that Sulayem had very good ideas, like listening to small FIA member clubs, being a non-executive president and being transparent as well, Mayer added that the incumbent hasn't delivered on any of those promises and believes that Sulayem's first term in office has been a reign of terror. In an article from The Guardian, here's what Sulayem said. The link to the full article is in the video description below. It appears on the screen. In response, Ben Sulayem said, "I feel for people, comma, brackets, who say this. They are disconnected from the FIA. He, Mayer, has worked as a steward. A steward doesn't mean you're an insider of the FIA. You're not staff. I have other things to do. I am really busy. I am not going to fall into this way of campaigning where I answer someone. He is free to say whatever he wants." Now, in a quote, "But the FIA is bigger than me, bigger than anyone. It's not about the media. One thing is very clear. It is the members who vote. It's not anyone who is here to have a vote. It's them. If they decide they want me or they want X, Y, Z, it's up to them. And I know that whatever I've been doing is good for the members. I've been very straight with them." Okay, let's wait for the General Assembly and let's see if they will get me out then. They will have the power to get me out. It's about the members. And when I see them smiling, maybe I don't know, maybe they're smiling truly or not, but it's their decision. Read something out of something I saw this German chap say in the 1940s on that one.
I have 3 things to say on this.
Do you want to go last on that one? Or do you want to go last?
Can I quickly go first? Because then I can leave.
All right, come back up to camera, then Megan can leave, and then we'll throw it to Kevin. Go on. Go on. 3 things to say, and then I'll ask the guys a question.
Okay. 1, I'm pretty sure people would take Jos Verstappen as president rather than him. 2, if the stewards aren't staff, then how could he fire him? And 3, the stewarding ever since he was fired has been inconsistent and pathetic.
Do you want a full-time job on the show? I mean, I'm sure we'll love to
Thank
have
you
you
and
on.
good night.
Thank you. Good night. So, yeah, it's good night for her. Okay, Matt, coming to you on this one. With the possibility of everyone returning to V8s, have I jumped a question? I have. What are your initial thoughts on Tim Mayer launching his FIA presidential campaign, and what does he need to do to defeat Sulayem? Bear in mind that we might need some magic mushrooms from Mario.
Well, I thought it was lovely that it was launched on Independence Day. Classy touch. On Friday. What does he need to do to defeat? Well, I'll come back to that in a second. Well, he's got to get votes. He's got to go around the members, as you've just been talking about there, and get the votes and do the rounds. He's going to be a busy boy between now and the end of the year when the General Assembly and the vote is going to be. The grid tonight stands with Tim Mayer. You know our stance on MBS over the last however long. We've documented pretty much everything that's happened on this show. And if you've missed any of them, go back and see them over the last however long it's been. If you can just Kobe, if you can just pull that quote back up, please. Can I just pull some, thank you, bits from this? As Megan said, he doesn't. He has worked for the FIA. See, I could be an insider for Penning's Accident Repair because that's who I work for. I'm not, because I've not got nothing to say. But you know, where was the other one that made me chuckle? If they decide they want me or they want X, Y, and Z, it's up to them and the bags of money that I've given them to vote for me. Redacted. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting run in. I feel like it might get dirty between MBS Camp A and Tim Mayer Camp B between now and through the autumn. But yeah, at least now, because it looked for a little while, didn't it? Because we had the Susie Wolf thing, that's gone away. There was some other stuff, Robert Reed and others perhaps in the frame for things that all went quiet. And we talked about it, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was like, oh, it's going to be uncontested here, 4 more years, etc. of MBS. And thankfully, someone has come out of the darkness and gone, no, we will not stand for this. And it's Tim Mayer, which is excellent to see.
Yes, it's about time we had someone enter the race and challenge MBS for FIA president. I don't know how the result will go, but it's really refreshing to see that Tim Mayer has a campaign slogan ready to go. FIA forward, try to move the FIA forward, because a lot of people argue that under MBS that it's been mostly FIA backwards, and as he's taken control over many different departments of the FIA in a way that we've never seen an FIA president do, and just a whole bunch of other things that have upset a lot of people, from bickering with drivers about swearing, and focus on stuff that really have no true meaning at the end of the day. And it just feels like it's just been, just a whole bunch of nonsense going on with the FIA. And now Tim Mayer is trying to, be the alternative voice, saying, "Hey guys, we're gonna have a campaign, that's gonna be focused on, listening to people and, basically trying to get the FIA back to what it used to be." Because as we've talked on the show before, when Jean Todt was the FIA president, you really heard it from him at all, and you really heard any true negative things about the FIA like we've heard under Mohammed Ben Sulayem. So if we can get back to a sense of normalcy under a potential FIA president, Tim Mayer, I think that everything would be a-okay, but it's certainly not going to be easy because we only have a few months into the election. Tim is getting into it kind of late here, so he has to make up a lot of ground, but he's going to be traveling. He's going to be, selling his message to all these member clubs and see if he can earn their votes. And I remember reading something yet last night about this, saying that I believe 36 member clubs have already signed a letter of support for MBS, and Tim Mayer basically came back and said that they were pressured to do that or else. And he's saying that's not democracy, that's not the way it should be, that you should be that both candidates should be able to essentially talk to the voters, and then at the end of the day on election night, we'll count all the votes. And if you want change, you vote Tim Mayer, and if you want more of the same, you can vote MBS. And at the end of the day, it's up to the voters to decide who's the best man for the job here to be the next president of the FIA, whether it's a continuation of MBS or new ideas with Tim Mayer. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in this race moving forward.
I think I speak for everybody that says, Tim, you have everybody's vote. Everybody. The thing is, how it works is, as I've explained on the show before, it's not in the members, it's actually the Asian and Middle Eastern that have the most power to vote in a president in the FIA, which is daft when you think about it, because they're not the ones with the largest motorsport clubs. The UK, Europe, they are, America. It's not how it works. So Mohammed Ben Sulayem has sort of abused that fact with the Middle East and Asia. And that's sort of the corruption charges and allegations that have been brought against him in the past couple of years is. And we've explained it several times on the show before as well. It's getting a bit ridiculous having to try and repeat it. But if the FIA forward, having read their manifesto, it looks incredibly good. And one of the things that you have to do is, in order for you to submit your presidency candidation, you have to have all of the FIA roles filled by people. And if you look, quite a lot of them have been people who've been sacked by Mohammed Ben Sulayem. So it's not a revenge filter. It's more as Tim's getting back in the people who know how to do the jobs, who are unlawfully fired, as they've said themselves, and we've read quotes from them over the years on the shows. So I think time's running out, and I think what I'm about to say next is proof that Mohammed Ben Sulayem might be feeling and just saying any old rubbish in order to try and convince people to vote for him. Where have we heard this before? It seemed very familiar of some senile dictator just sprouts out anything about getting something that everybody wants to see. And then remarkably, it then disappears despite repeated saying that it's been on the table for months. Evening, President. So, during the British Grand Prix weekend, the current FIA president spoke to the media about the possibility of Formula One returning to the loud, screaming V8 engines with fully sustainable fuel by 2029. Now, he said this needs to happen soon and get a cheaper power unit, since the ones we're using now are very expensive, and thinks it's correct from a business standpoint, since many of the manufacturers already use V8s in their road cars. Now, in addition, he mentioned the possibility of an additional 12th team and expanding the grid to 24 cars, with the team potentially coming from China. Now, apparently, Sulayem also feels that we need to prioritise grid expansion over more races to the F1 schedule. The link to all of this is in the ESPN article in the video description below. Right, okay. Saying literally anything to get people on side. So, if we have to take it at face value, because we would all love the return of loud, screaming engines, Matt, starting with you, would the possibility of F1 returning to V8 engines by 2029 and then adding a 12th team excite you? Or is this just MBS being the typical politician making big promises in an election year? And I'm getting tired of this.
Well, to be your previous comment as well, remember last time someone entered the race in an election quite late, it didn't quite go so well for them against a tyrannical tyrant who then ended up winning. So good luck, Tim. Yes. What will happen if I win the election versus what people want? Oh no, look, this is what's happened here. Not extending the F1 calendar, yes. I agree with that. We're already at too many races now. So yes, everyone wants Formula One. You know, much like a few years ago when everybody wanted Formula E. That's gone well. Everyone wants Formula One. The calendar's too stacked. We are at full capacity already, if not over. So yes, that's a tick. But just to say we want V8s, we're going to go back to V8s. Well, you're not. The teams have spent so much money on infrastructure and the like on the hybrid system, and of course as I mentioned previously, we were talking about Red Bull. We're about to go into yet another different, slightly, not too much, but a slightly different engine formula going forward. You're not going to get them to change again and go backwards. Yeah, granted, we love the screaming V8s back with some biofuel, a bit like in the IndyCar sort of world-ish, apart from they've obviously got the hybrid, which doesn't make too much difference. But we'd love to have the screaming V8s back, but we're not in that world anymore. People still clamoring for things that are never going to come back. This is not just in motorsport, but just in life generally at the moment. A lot of it going on in the social media world. So especially, yes, playing to the crowd, whether it will of course happen or not, very much a different story.
Yes, in theory, it would be great to have the V8 engines back in Formula One. I remember when I first started watching Formula One, it was really nice to hear the scream of the cars roaring down the straights and all of that. But as you were saying, MBS, just typical politician here, just trying to make promises and win votes. It's honestly nothing more than that. Unfortunately, it's really nice in theory, thinking about the return to V8 engines or even a 12th team on the grid in the future. We're really like to see the grid back up to 24 cars, which would be really exciting. When I first started watching F1, we had 24 cars on the grid, and it was fantastic because we don't have enough seats for all of the talent that we have right now, of drivers who could potentially be in Formula One. I think the chances of having a 12th team are probably much greater than having the return of V8 engines. But I really see this as MBS just trying to say great things so people vote for him.
I've been in the generation of at the circuit where I've heard these engines. They are loud. They go past you. You feel it in your bones. They are quite loud engines, but they're not stick your fingers in the ears loud. And I think there's not too dissimilars now to hearing them live and hearing them on television. They do quite a good job of keeping the audio level at the right level. So they're just as loud. But I must admit, when all of them are screaming past you and firing up, it is so loud. And I could not handle the V8s or the V10s. But this is also somebody who would love to see them back from a fan's point of view, because every time there's a V8 or V10 on track, everybody just stops and listens and loves it. So, yes, obviously we want them back. But we also now live in a world where there is noise pollution limits in countries like Singapore as well. Silverstone has them now as well. You can't go above a certain decibel. And the V8s were causing issues. That's one of the reasons we changed them, was because we couldn't have so many street races. So I doubt with as many street races now on the calendar for Formula One, it would actually be legal in some of those countries. I mean, certainly in Baku, it's not allowed. And I'll tell you why for a reason in a second. So we would have to lose that race from the calendar, because the vibration caused by the cars at such a high decibel would cause damage to the castle section. The vibration from it as well. Having 20 thumping V8s or V10s going by would cause damage. And that's why, we have to reduce it. So you have to take several races off the calendar. We won't be able to race in certainly Las Vegas, I would assume, as another reason. So, yeah, it's stupid. It's daft. They're just saying it. If they can ever get it sorted, then yeah, but it's never going to happen. If anything, I would say a V6 engine without the turbocharger and whack it up as much as it can go with synthetic fuels. That's how we should really go. Plus, also, Matt, you know as well as I do how loud the V4s have been. They've been fantastic. So it's about what you have in the engine that muffles them, and that's why F1 struggled, and they're taking out. I can't remember. It's the heat unit, isn't it? Next year, that's taken out. That's going to unmuffle it a little bit. So they will be louder next year anyway. It's a bit daft.
Remember when we went to this Formula? When was it? 2014, wasn't it? It was, oh my goodness, it's so quiet, and they gradually brought some of the noise back to appease basically. Quickly before we move on, 12 team mentioned over the last 2 years of this show, when we've not been talking about the shenanigans of the FIA. What's the other thing we've been talking about throughout? Cadillac Andretti. Cadillac Andretti 11th team. And all of the hand-wringing that's been going on between all these teams about, oh, don't take our money away. Oh, yes, if you vote for me, we're going to have a 12th team. It's not going to happen. Absolutely not going to happen. All of this stuff about Cadillac that we've been talking about for the last year has been an absolute shambles, and the team should be ashamed of themselves, frankly, and I've said that before. You're gonna roll another one in? Absolutely no chance. Good luck with that one.
The only way into Formula One now is dead man's shoes. That's the only way in. You're not going to get in because the teams are really angry that they sort of got forced into having to accept the Cadillac deal. And we were hearing rumours about certain ex-people in Formula One starting a 12th team coming up, and you go, yes, but no, you're not going to get in, not without jumping through so many hoops. And even General Motors can't get in. This is also something I want to pick up on. So you're telling me that you've just secured General Motors to come in as an engine supplier in 2028. They're going to have to spend the next 2 seasons developing a power unit engine, only to scrap it a year later for a V8 engine in 2029. It's ludicrous. It is so stupid, because then General Motors will go, all right, bye. Audi have spent. We are actually starting to see with what's going to come later in our hot and not with Hulkenberg, that 100%. They've actually got a fantastic team with Bortoletto and Hulkenberg, and the guys and girls behind the scenes. They've got something cooking. And if Audi come in, how much money they've spent on Formula One in the past couple of years, they're not going to be happy just to scrap everything they've built and done for nothing. It's so stupid. And it's just, it grates on me. And it's the sign of desperation, isn't it? But then again, as we've seen with certain elections recently, the desperation will lead the gullible people. So, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a on the nose, isn't it?